Good morning, everyone. We're going to take you to a completely different part of the world with this presentation. We're going to go to Africa, specifically Northeast Africa, and then to West Africa. Orca is an interesting story. It's a company that was created originally by Lucas Lundin and I. We were looking after our success with Redback. Where do we go in Africa that we think we can find a major gold project or base metal project that is underexplored, and we all recognize that Africa pretty much is an emerging market environment. And we were looking at a place that we thought had really prospective geology and had potential to politically improve in the continent. And we really believed that we were going to see a major change in Sudan over a number of years. And so we went into Sudan about 7 years ago, and I'm happy to stand up here and report to you that things have gone the way we thought they were going to go. And last year, all the economic sanctions on Sudan were removed, and Sudan is pretty much open for doing business. And at the same time, over the course of that 7-year period, we've been fortunate enough to find a very, very large gold project that we will be delivering a feasibility study on early in November this year, and we will be looking to finance and construct the mine next year. So on that foreshadow, the disclaimer. Look, this is, as I said, an interesting company. We have now a very large strategic investor in Resolute. They came in last year, or earlier this year, and took 15% of the company. You'll see that the register is made up of not only a couple of very large corporates, but also some very important people in the mining business. And we've been quietly working away on our project since we created Orca. So in terms of these numbers are a little bit outdated. As of yesterday, we announced that we have completed our transaction with Kinross and acquired all the Redback assets again in Côte d'Ivoire, most of which were pegged when I was running Redback back in 2008, 2009. It's taken us a while to convince Kinross to give us those assets back, but we now have them all, and consequently, Kinross is a 5% shareholder of Orca. Resolute Mining, as I said, because of the Kinross deal, they'll go down to about 15%. Zebra Holdings is Lucas Lundin. Ross Beatty, I don't think needs an introduction. The management interest is mostly myself and my family. Okay, the management team of Orca and the board is pretty much the majority are somehow related to Redback and the Lundin Group. So we have the team to not only discover, develop, we also have the team to finance, and we also have the team to construct and operate mines in this jurisdiction. Sudan. Well, Sudan's an interesting place because it's now made up of, the former Sudan is now Sudan and South Sudan. And it's very important to differentiate. Sudan is actually quite calm. All the aggression that you've been hearing about or issues with civil war, that is taking place in South Sudan. It started about 5 years ago when they created the country. However, Sudan itself has been doing extremely well in getting back into the fold of the Western world, towing the line, becoming a peaceful jurisdiction. They're very anti-terrorism. They're anti-extremism. They're a very moderate Muslim society. They're very law-abiding people, they're very kind people, and I can tell you I've worked all over Africa, I've worked all over Latin America. This is the easiest jurisdiction I've ever operated in. So it's one of these things that's perception. Most people's perception of Sudan is based on what they read or hear in the media, and I can tell you when you go there, and everybody that has gone there is absolutely amazed at the reality versus that perception. As I said, it's a stable government. A lot of people worry about where you're going to build a mine. It's not like oil. Return on investment takes a long time, so you want a stable jurisdiction. Well, this government, whether you believe that they've done everything right, which they haven't over the years, but they've been in power for 25 years and they're going nowhere. That's the kind of jurisdiction that I want to make an investment in and build a mine in, because I know it's going to be a stable government and the rules are going to stay the same. They're not going to go out and change all the royalties, they're not going to change the taxes, they're not going to do things like that. That takes us to the project. We are up in the north, really close to the Egyptian border. The closest project to us is about 100 kilometers to the south. It's owned by Managem, the Moroccan state mining company. They have a deposit that is similar in size to ours. So what's significant? There are only 3 significant mining companies or exploration development companies in Sudan, us, Managem, and Qatar Mining. I can tell you all three of us have found deposits very, very quickly upon getting on the ground. That's relatively unheard of in any environment. So exploration, modern exploration dollars going into Sudan are actually resulting in very early and very significant success. So it's just started. We went to Sudan and we went up to this part of the world because we discovered we were part of, or now part of, the largest gold rush in history. So put this in perspective, again, from 5 or 6 years ago to not being a major producer of gold, Sudan is arguably the second largest producer of gold now in Africa, following South Africa. And they have no mines, as we would consider mines. This is all artisanal mining. There's approximately 1.5 million Sudanese mining artisanal gold, and they are on target for this year to produce somewhere in the order of 120 tons of gold. So it's staggering, staggering amount. All surface. Now, Doug, they've taken artisanal mining to a new concept. When I say artisanal mining, I think I might have a picture in here, but there's a project near us, and it's probably 50 meters deep and 400 meters long, and about 30 meters wide. And they've done it all with backhoes. No explosives. They just put hammers on the end of excavators, and they mine it all with metal detectors. And their primary crushing technique is they bag up all this high grade. They go to the walls with metal detectors. They take the gold out, bag it up, take it to the top, lay it down on surface and run a D10 or a D8 over it. That's their primary crusher. And then they run metal detectors over it again until they can't find anything. And then that concentrate is bagged up and trucked to the Nile River, which is about 200 kilometers away for processing. It's an amazing thing to see. It's all desert. So, pardon me? It's high grade. Absolute high grade. Yeah. Not necessarily. We've seen nuggets come out as big as my fist. Yeah. It's remnant gold. Now, it's an interesting history, and to put this in perspective, and I'm going to jump around on this because it's hard to talk about this in 20 minutes, but I can tell you that our original concession was 7,000 square kilometers with no work ever done on it. So how do you possibly explore that? And all these artisanal miners, when we got to our concession, there was 10,000 of them mining. And we're looking at this going, okay, how did these guys find this stuff? And they found it because the majority of gold for the Pharaonic Empire came from this region. And because it's a dry desert, it's a Sahara desert, all the old foundations for the old Pharaonic mining camps still exist, the houses. So what these guys did today, they went and found those old mining camps, and then they branched out and they prospected. Look, I'll be honest with you. We've got one of the greatest geologists probably in the history of gold in Africa, Hugh Stewart. And Hugh basically went and said, look, all we're going to do is map every artisanal working, and we're going to go sample it. That is how we've discovered everything we have on Block 14 to date. So let me jump around here. This is great, and the question was, is this a desert? There is nothing here. So when you talk about and hear people doing presentations on projects in the jungle, there are huge issues involving those, and I know that because I built a mine in Ghana. I can tell you there is no fauna, no flora, no people, no water table. There's no environmental issues. The nearest community is 200 kilometers away. And again, when everybody talks, if it's North America or South America or other places in Africa, you discover a mine this size, it's going to take you years and years and years to permit. This project will be fully permitted by the end of Q1 next year. So this is a government that wants gold production, and they're very, very encouraging. So the key to this thing is water. Without water, you don't have a mine. And so we've spent a lot of time and money, again, no work done before, and we discovered a huge aquifer within 100 kilometers of the project. It's been proven up. It's permitted now, but the government gave us the permits, and that has allowed us to design a project of 6 million tons a year. So again, that water it's key because it's fresh water. You can drink it, and that means your P costs for cyanide consumption, lime consumption, and everything else come way down. So it's been a major discovery. Again, the historical nature of this is pretty amazing. We discovered this because there was one well in this aquifer that was discovered by the British when Kitchener was coming down to conquer Sudan after Gordon was massacred by the Mahdi. and they were driving the train down. It was a steam engine, and they got to this point in the desert, and they went, we're dead unless we can find water. British engineers went out on camels, and they divined, with divining rods, water. They drilled a hole, and they hit, and it was called Station 6. And nobody's done any exploration since the British. We came in, and we've now proven up a major aquifer. So that has made this project possible. So where are we? We just put out a new resource. This project is almost 3.4 million ounces now, indicated, 700,000 ounces inferred, so a resource of 4 million ounces. We're going to be coming out with the reserve in November. But what's interesting about this resource, if you look at the grade, okay, of this resource, at the end of the day, it's approximately 1.2, 1.3 grams on the resource. It's got a high-grade core, okay? So it's approximately about 2 million ounces of the indicated is around 2 grams. Okay, so for an open pit, that's unheard of. So for the first 7.5 years, I can tell you, we're going to be mining this thing at 1.5 grams open pit. So the return on investment is pretty significant.
So that's good, 1.5 grams?
Oh yeah, 1.5 grams open pit, that's pretty good.
And what's the significance of the name Orca?
Oh, it goes back a long way. The private company that Lucas Lundin and I owned that was taken up to go public, we used another vehicle to acquire that, and our company was called Shark. And the only predator of a shark is an orca. It was one of those days you were just sitting around the table drinking. Came up with that one. Anyway, so this resource slide just shows you that at different cutoffs, this thing is still extremely robust. For us, you could redesign this thing. You could come up and do it at 1 gram, all sorts of things. It's very, very, very flexible. So I've got to scream through this, but unfortunately. The other beauty of this deposit, it's actually 2 deposits. The main deposit has most of the ounces. 60 kilometers away is a very high-grade deposit of about 250,000 ounces at almost 3 grams. And that is going to be trucked into the early years of the mine life, and it also significantly adds to the economics of the project. We have stopped drilling not because we ran out of exploration, but we had to deliver a feasibility study to the Sudanese government in November. The drills are still turning, we're still getting results, and this thing is just going to keep getting bigger. Okay? The feasibility study is essentially completed. We're just waiting for the mine scheduling, and we're on track to deliver the study in the first 2 weeks of November. Okay, so exploration upside, what we're targeting now is high grade. We have lots of different high grade targets. If you look at the drill results from this project, they're pretty staggering, and we are now focusing in on those. And the object here is, now that you've got a big project, a big mine, if you can find a couple 100,000 ounces at 2 to 3 grams, again, it makes a step change on the economics of the project. So very quickly, I'm going to run into Côte d'Ivoire. That was our announcement yesterday.
Very sorry, I'm going to have to ask you.
Cut me off.
Wrap it up there.
2 minutes?
That's 12 minutes is over the 10.
Okay. Let me quickly...
Closing comment.
Closing comment on Côte d'Ivoire is, we've just announced that we've just come out with a maiden resource. We're between 2 discoveries, Randgold and to the south, Newcrest. Our discovery is bigger than both of those. It's 1.2 million ounces at about 1.1 grams, but it's open pittable. The strip ratio is 0.5 to 1, and the mineralization is 250 meters in true width, up to 250 meters true width, and the ore is really soft. So we're fast-tracking a PEA, and we'll be coming out with the PEA by the end of January next year. So we now have 2 projects we're going to develop. We have $15 million in the bank. We're pretty well set and carrying forward. Thanks very much.
Thank you.